we went on, we were talking about today's topic, which is overwhelm. The feeling that you get right before, it's like the last stop on the train before burnout. So that is the topic that we are going to talk about.
All right, so we're in the first just 5-minute sprint of Lisa's live stream, and we're talking about being overwhelmed, which, you know, I know a little bit about. I forgot to actually hit record when I was saying my piece, but if you missed it, the thing that helps me when I have like multiple work things going on at once and I feel overwhelmed when I think about all of them is that when I make my work schedule, every day is dedicated to one client. So I'm not trying to do a little bit of work on all the things every day. I'm just focused on one thing and making a lot of progress in that one day. And I think I'm more productive that way. And I also think it puts me in a better headspace because feeling like you got a little bit done on a bunch of stuff, that just doesn't add up, at least to me. It doesn't feel like progress. But feeling like I got a good chunk of something done on one project, that to me feels like success. And success is that little spark you need to be motivated to keep going and just get through everything you have to do. Anyway, the other thing I realized is I want to start taking notes on my Sandstorm manuscript today. And I had noticed last week when I printed it out that it felt really thin. And granted, I changed the font to size 10 and I put single space N front and back because I don't like wasting paper. I just, you know, I don't need it to be, you know, 250 pages or whatever. And, but it was like really, really short. And then I looked at it and realized for some reason it only printed half the manuscript. So I printed the other half and now it looks a little more like what it should look like. And so what I'm going to do, the sprint is pretty much over already, but what I'm going to do, or my goal for today, is to finish up all of my character sheets. I've gone through and done a little bit more work. I've removed those 2 characters that I said last week I was going to cut. And then I'm going to really just spend the day diving into this, reading this draft I wrote during NaNoWriMo, which should be fairly terrifying, taking some notes, and something that has been going on in my head for the last several days is the ending of this book. Oh my gosh, I had a twist. I had that little final page twist in mind, but it's been growing and it's been like spreading its roots through the rest of the story, if that makes sense. And I just feel like I'm kind of exploding with ideas here. In fact, to be honest, I'm kind of thinking about, when I read this, starting on the last page and starting my note taking there and then working forwards. In fact, now that I say that out loud, I think that's exactly what I want to do. So let's get to it. Okay, where do I begin? I figured some stuff out on that stream for sure. It was a combination of working, but kind of starting at the end of the manuscript and also just adding to the 2 most important character sheets that I have. And I think the biggest revelation I had here was I have this one particular character who is one of the antagonists, and I had realized something when I made my timeline that really changed her backstory and therefore made her motivation questionable. And what I worked through, the biggest revelation I think I had just now was that I realized that her motivation, I had thought it was revenge, and it's not at all. And I found myself writing out, she is motivated by blah, blah, blah. And then I realized that the thing I had typed is actually already the theme of this book. So it was definitely one of those moments where it felt like, oh, things just like really kind of clicked into place. And what I've been doing is writing backwards through her point of view, kind of back and forth between her character sheet in my Scrivener document and here. Like I just started with what I had on the last page of my draft, and I just started writing down what I see for this last scene, because this character, she is going to get the very, very final scene in this book. She gets the last word, and this is where all of the cards are shown. And so I'm going to start there, or I did start there, and I'm writing them all out and kind of figuring things out as I go. It's hard to explain this without just giving all the things away, but I'm laying out all the cards, and some of them I didn't even know what they were. I didn't know her full hand until just now. And it's one of those kind of magical things where it actually makes even more sense than what I had intended from the beginning. And the more I think about it, like I took a peek at the beginning of the manuscript, just kind of scanned the first few scenes, and the story has already changed so much from what I intended when I started NaNoWriMo that like I think it's absolutely necessary that I work through this backwards. If I started at the beginning, I think I would feel overwhelmed because it's almost moot. Like a lot of those scenes, the action on the surface is going to be the same. They get to this house, they meet each other, these certain things about the victim's will are revealed, like that's all the same, but everything underneath is so different now. And yeah, so I'm going to continue to work backwards through this, but it's noon and Rosa and I both desperately need to get out and get some sun and touch some grass, so we're going to do that first. Kind of magical happened yesterday afternoon. I came back from the walk and I did some more work, and then I sat down right here and filmed what I thought was going to be the end of this vlog. And I talked about how it was coming together, but I was starting to feel overwhelmed. So here's where I'm at. This book is complicated. I made the decision last week to cut 2 characters because I realized I could lift them out of the plot and it wouldn't really change the plot. And I'm really happy I made that call because the way the remaining characters, the way the backstories are changing slightly, they're all getting more tangled up together. Everybody has done something or multiple things in the past that has impacted the pasts of the other characters. They're so tangled up. And I am happy that I made the decision to start at the back, at the very last scene, and just kind of, I don't know, it's like the difference between I have a giant knot and I'm trying to untangle it, or I have a very long piece of string and now I get to make the knot. I definitely feel like, you know, I talk about story gut a lot, and story gut is telling me that this is definitely, I'm on the right track. But I won't lie, the challenge right now is when I look at the big picture of what I'm trying to do with this book, it's a little overwhelming. It's a little intimidating. And after I stopped recording, I picked up my laptop and I went and I sat in bed and I just kind of started looking at it and thinking, okay, I said I was gonna take this one step at a time, so let's go one step at a time. And I started kind of writing what would be the epilogue from the very final point of view where everything really is revealed. Everything, like laying out all the cards, showing my full hand, you know? And there have been some elements about that have continued to trip me up just a little bit. And I finally got some momentum yesterday and things started coming together. And then it was like one of those serendipitous, magical writing afternoons that didn't actually end until about 9 o'clock last night. I was sitting in bed And usually there's no working for me after dinner. I don't do it. I can't do it. I'm creatively drained. But I couldn't stop. I was like, watch a show, do something else. But nope, I was still in that Scrivener document, and it was just like coming out of my head. The first thing that happened was I really did, once and for all, well and truly get all of the what happened and who did what and who knew what locked down. I know it. I'm confident in it. That part is done. All of my little lingering doubts and questions and I'm kind of being hand wavy over here with this explanation, I've got it, okay? The next thing that happened was I kind of realized that another character needs to die during the course of the book. Not because I needed or I felt the need to kill off another character, but because this particular character, I remember finishing the NaNoWriMo draft and I was not satisfied with how their particular arc ended. I didn't know how to end it. And I'm not even talking about like the plot, I'm talking about their transformation. And the reason I couldn't figure out how they changed is because I wasn't really sure at the core of them what was going on at the start of the book. I wasn't sure exactly why they were there. And then when I worked out all that ending stuff, like I said, I figured out why they were there. And then that led to me unlocking a whole bunch of other secrets about this particular character. And then I realized, oh, this character has to die in this very specific way for a very specific reason, somewhere probably after the midpoint of the book. And that's going to throw a wrench into some other characters' plans, shall we say. And then, here's the really crazy part. This is when it gets to feel like serendipity. I love this part of writing. Way back when I very first started working on this book, I had a vlog about it. There was a thunderstorm and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna try writing this in a notebook by hand. And I took it into the closet with Rosa because she's scared of thunder. And I opened this notebook and I wrote a title page. I wrote a title. I had a title and I loved that title. I still love that title. And the reason that sometime last fall, sometime in around October, I think, as I was working on it, I ditched that title is because as I got to know the story better, it just didn't fit. It was a title based on like something about the very original core of this idea that is no longer relevant. And I was sad to ditch the title, but it didn't fit anymore. And I started calling the book Sandstorm just as a placeholder. That was never going to be what I wanted to actually call it. Well, yesterday, once I realized that this particular character was going to die, and I was looking at my list of all the characters who will be dead by the end of this book, I realized once more, this title is very relevant, only for a completely different and even better reason than it was for the original idea. So I have a title again. I freaking love this title so much and I'm so happy it actually fits the book naturally now and I didn't have to like force it to work. And I'm also happy I don't have to bother brainstorming with titles because I have been trying to come up with a title for this book and nothing was coming to me and I just really love this one. So yeah, that felt kind of magical that all of a sudden this title fits the book for completely different reasons. And now, I mean, I worked on it. When I say all day yesterday, I mean all day, right up until I went to bed. And then did I dream about it? Yes, I absolutely did. And that's how I know I'm in real deep. And I woke up this morning, I got up earlier than normal and got right to work on my client stuff. I was like, I'm getting this all done. I was finished with client work by 10:30 and I have been working on it. It's a little after 2 o'clock right now and I have been working on this book ever since. And my character sheets are pretty much done. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking what I know from my timeline, which has changed a little bit since I've taken out some characters and learned some new things about my characters and really like solidified things. I'm taking the character sheets and the timeline and I am going to go through that draft scene by scene. Some scenes are obviously going to be cut. A lot of stuff is just not relevant from that NaNoWriMo draft anymore and that's fine. But a lot of it works. A lot of it was me kind of pantsing this book and writing scenes like, I don't know exactly why I want this to happen and it doesn't really fit in the draft yet because I haven't set it up properly, but I know I see this happening. And now, like I said, it feels like serendipity. All of a sudden I know why these things are happening. So there are certain scenes that I wrote in that draft that I know now I'm gonna have some real context for, and I know how to adjust them. Another thing I'm doing is making a list of things each character knows that are going to provide clues to the reader as to how, so that when they do finally get to the end, it's not a rug pull. Everything makes sense. Everything was set up. And that's I think that's what I'm going to be doing. I don't even want to call it outlining. I'm going to be calling it taking an explanation of the mystery. Like, imagine telling a mystery story in the most boring, dry way possible because you are setting up the twist and explaining it at the very beginning. And then moving through and planting things scene by scene, going all the way forward so that I know what I need to work in. I hope that makes sense. I really think if I can get this right, this book is going to be a little bit of a mind F, and I'm very, very, very excited about it. So that's my goal now, from now until April 1st, which I think is the end of next week. Just going backwards through that outline, getting all my little red herrings and my clues and little seeds and stuff in a row, and then we're just gonna write this thing, and I can't wait. So that's gonna be it for this vlog. I feel like this was kind of a breakthrough week for me. Let me know how your stuff is going down in the comments below, and I'll see you next week with more videos. Bye.